Hello, this is Steve, your YouTube English teacher, and today we are looking at lots of use of English. The idea is to go from B1 to C2. This is a great idea. This should be very enjoyable for all my viewers, and maybe it will be the start of a new trend that everyone's doing. Of course, I'm not promising that if you watch this video, you will go from B1 to C2. That's impossible. What I'm saying is that I'm going to guide you, show you how a use of English exam would look at B1, at B2, at C1 and at C2 for the different parts of the Cambridge Use of English test. Starting today with part 1, which is more focused on vocab. So at B1, you might have questions testing your knowledge of how we use common verbs in English, such as make, do, have and get. Your practice activity to see if you can do Use of English part 1 for B1 is to take these 20 verbs and put them in the correct column. How do they collocate? Do you make the dishes, do the dishes, have the dishes, or get the dishes after you've eaten your meal? Maybe there's more than one possibility depending on context, but I'm looking for the common phrase. And if it was a Use of English exam, it would be obvious. For example, like I just said, we have eaten our meal, now we need to the dishes. You can't say have the dishes. It is true to say, look at me, I have the dishes. It's good English. But what's the collocation? What's the phrase? So pause the video, go over it yourself, make sure you know all of them, go down this list and think what sounds good. Because if you can do these, then you can do Use of English part 1 for B1. With expressions, of course, like, here come the answers, to do the dishes, to make noise, to do homework, to get lost, to have a shower, to have breakfast, to make a mistake, to get along with someone, to have a good relationship, to do someone a favor, to make friends, to do your best, to have a good time or a bad time, to have fun, to get ready, to make a suggestion, to suggest something, to make an appointment, to go to the doctors or the hairdressers, to do harm, as in to do damage, to do harm, to do something bad, to get a promotion, as in a better paying job or more responsibility, to get married, it's an adjective, you get adjective, or to have a party, or to hold a party, or to throw a party. But from these ones, you have a party. So that's what you'd have for B1. At the end of the video, we're going to have some real Use of English questions, and some of them will be B1. So keep this in mind as we move on to B2. And now we're testing something that's a little bit more difficult. Phrasal verbs. Do you know these common Cambridge phrasal verbs? I give you a definition and I'm giving you some prepositions, but you might have to use them twice. You might not have to use them at all. This is really just to give you a little bit of a clue so you're not completely lost. Which preposition goes with which verb to mean that idea, that verb. For example, to postpone, we had to postpone the match. We had to put the match, because it was raining, and so on. Pause the video and say the correct preposition for each one. Write them down in your notes, as I always suggest my students do. And here come the answers. To postpone is, of course, you know this is always on the Cambridge exam. They love this expression. I guess they think English people are always putting things off. To put off means to postpone. To take care of course, to look after children, animals, and so on. To break up with someone, also possible. To give up, common one. To get rid of, that's a really nice one that is a bit more difficult, but you'll often see that on B2 or C1. To look forward to, super common expression. To run out of, little trick, there were 2 blanks there, hope you saw them. To set off or to set out, as in we set off at 6 a.m. Another really common phrase for some reason in Cambridge exams. And to find out, we know that one, you found out, you discovered. And to take up a new hobby. This year I'm going to take up yoga, and so on and so on. So there's our phrasal verbs. Again, keep this in mind, keep your notes clear, because at the end of the video we have our test from B1 to C2. Now let's move on to C1, where we're really getting into the tricky parts of Use of English part 1, which is vocab, synonyms, words that all sort of mean the same thing or are related, but only one is going to fit. Your task is, from these lists of words, number 1, stroll, loiter, march, wander, which is the odd one out, which does not fit. 3 of them mean more similar things. 1 of them doesn't quite fit. I do enjoy these activities because they are a bit of a logic thing as well. So pause the video, make you guess which word doesn't fit. There should be a good reason, at least the reason I was thinking of when I was making these questions, thinking of the kind of thing they will test on Use of English Part 1 for C1. You've done it. Now I'm going to tell you the answers and you're going to take some notes of these new words if you didn't know them. Number 1, these are all ways of walking. To stroll, to march, and to wander. But to loiter isn't really to walk. To loiter is to hang around somewhere. Like you often hear teenagers are loitering outside the library, listening to loud music. It means hanging around, often in a negative way. To stroll is to walk in a relaxed way, a leisurely way. To march is to walk more like in a military way. And to wander is to move or walk around or drive around without a particular destination in mind. But they're all ways of walking and moving apart from loitering. You can see the pattern here. They're all ways of, very common for C1. Number 2, they're all ways of seeing. You can glance at something, look at it quickly. You can stare at something, look at it with your attention. Or you can gaze at something to look at it, often with like emotion, with wonder, with love. And to grasp, of course, means to touch something. You can grasp it in your hand, or it also means to understand it. I didn't grasp it at first, to understand it, to get it. So 3 of them are looking, 1 of them is not looking. Number 3, these are all speaking quietly, aren't they? To mutter is to speak quietly and unclearly. To whisper, obviously, is to speak without vocals. And to grunt, is what my baby speaks like at the moment. Whereas to roar, obviously, is not quiet. A lion roars, or people roar sometimes if they're angry and so on. Number 4, what's the odd one out here? House vocab, right? We understood it's house vocab, but it's not bedroom, kitchen, bathroom. We're going beyond that at C1. A shed is not actually part of the house, is it? A shed is normally an outside building, a separate building, whereas the roof and the ceiling and the attic are all parts of the house. The attic, of course, in British English, and I want to say American English too, is more of an unused space that's dusty, and maybe you keep some suitcases there. Although I guess maybe that's changing with the modern world as well, with loft apartments and so on. But you know, little bit of a different meaning there. Number 5, these are all ways of talking, aren't they? To declare, to state, to convey, you're saying something. But to choke means to stop speaking, or to have a real suffocation problem with food. But in this context, it can also mean to stop speaking. Number 6, 3 of those are moving quickly, but to dawdle is to procrastinate, to take your time, to go slowly. Number 7, those are not enough of things if there's a shortage, a lack, or a scarcity. If there's a remainder, it means there is some left over, right? The other ones, there's none left. Remainder, there is some left over, so that's not what it means. And finally, we finish with a slightly easy one, maybe. Glow, shine, and sparkle all refer to light, moving around, very light things, whereas gloom means dull or dark. So hopefully that made some sense and you've learned some real C1 level vocab there. Of course, they will be testing this level of vocab on the C1 exam because they're giving you the options. So you're expected to be able to use context, to have some idea, to have read some of these words, to be able to guess, and to get that 60% if you're doing the C1 exam. So that was C1, and hopefully that was difficult. Well, wait until you see C2 then, because at C2 we are testing some very specific collocations, some real specific phrases that either you are reading a lot to have read them, or you're a native speaker and you just know them because you've lived with them. So here I've made it slightly easier because I've given you linked phrases, like in one category, some time phrases to start with, and you've got 3 options. You need to put them in the correct sentence, and then some positive adjective phrases, good things, that you also need to put in the correct one. So pause the video and try and do it. This should be a bit easier than a real C2 exam because you've got 3 options and 3 sentences, process of elimination, which one sounds good. But then when we get to the exam, well, we'll see how you do. I've paused the video. You've paused the video. Someone's pausing the video. Let's look at the answers. During the course of the meeting. During the course of something is a way of saying while it happened, and it's the course of something else happening. Number 2, this one's a bit easier, isn't it? For a while. I'm saying we know that because it's during the course of. For a while is the expression. That means for some time. And a considerable length of time. Considerable collocates with length. They sound good together. They're commonly used together. For our positive phrases, something is proving advantageous. They go together, to prove advantageous. What kind of employment are you finding? Gainful employment. Again, those go together. That's the collocation. That's what you're expected to know. It sounds good. Obviously, this would be more difficult if I had given you one option is gainful, one option is advantageous, one option is confident, one option is beneficial. Only one of those is correct because gainful goes with employment. That's the point that we are trying to test here with these collocations. Which word must it be? Because they go together. And finally, obviously, then is you are quietly confident. Another phrase that goes together, to be quietly confident. Okay, so you've practiced what might be on an exam for use of English Part 1 at each level. So let's look at our exam. This is a beautiful thing that I have made. It's about peanut butter. For each part of the use of English, we're going to be learning about a topic that is close to my heart. I eat a lot of peanut butter. It's an incredible snack. And that's one of the good things about being a teacher, is that you can share your love of things with your students and maybe they will discover a love of it as well. So what you need to do is read the text, and then as we can see, the first two options are related to B1 type questions. They're going to be quite a lot easier. And then B2, C1 and C2. Pause the video, write your answers, 1A, 2B and so on. And then we'll check them and you'll hopefully learn something about use of English Part 1. Here come the answers. Number 1, peanut butter makes you feel full. We make someone do something, in this case, feel full. Number 2, you do exercise, don't you? Of course you do, you do exercise. Was that in the original exam, the activity we did? I don't remember. But the collocation is do exercise. For number 3, a phrasal verb, that means when you're a kid, you grow up. And number 4, what goes with add? You add something to something else. Maybe a bit of an easy one for B2, but the point is you have to get all of them right. And there's going to be some little prepositions, phrasal verbs like that. For C1, peanut butter requires significantly less, because it's a lot less, and that's the only one that means a lot less, really. And number 6, we are changing away from meat and towards peanuts. There is a shift towards sustainable food sources. That's the only one that means like an abstract change in direction. We can't say the change towards, doesn't quite sound right. As we get onto C2, number 7, what goes with conservative? It's a conservative estimate. That's the expression. I didn't do this, but it's always interesting to do it. Put into Google conservative guess in quotation marks, then conservative estimate, conservative forecast, conservative prediction. Conservative estimate will have 10 times more results because that's the phrase that's used. Yes, they all mean the same thing, but only one of them is the phrase that sounds good, that sounds natural, and that's what we're testing at C2. And the same for number 8. This is an expression that means trying to think of something. You are racking your brains. That's just the expression. There's not much of a reason to it. I mean, of course, there's an etymology, which is quite fun if you want to look for it, but you just have to know it if you want to get these points on the C2 exam. Hope that was useful. That is your use of English Part 1 from B1 to C2. Goodbye.